Dan, have you ever wanted an app that collates all the scores and news from your favourite teams in the whole of Europe, Dan? Have you ever wanted that?
Is a constant need of mine, mate, because there's always news. That's the thing, is that we love this game. We love the industry of football because it's ever changing, mate, and you need a place to keep up with it all.
And we have that place exactly for you guys.
Do,
it's One Football. Guys, this app is it's life-changing.
It's great because I use it. So it's great because it's where I pull the stats from for the podcast. So it's like there's all that new stuff as well, but you can track all of the players' stats from like across Europe for all the different leagues, for continental football as well. It's a dream. It's a dream. And the best part, mate, is it's free.
It's free, and guys, it would help support the channel massively if you check that One Football using the link in the description down below. We promise you guys won't be disappointed. Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I am here as always with my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, how you doing, bro?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad. It feels nice to talk to you after the end of what's been a pretty dismal day for the human race, really. So it feels nice. Although these things. They can sometimes pale into insignificance somewhat, but yeah, it is nice to see your face, mate. Put a smile, because all things aside, you've had a pretty torrid 24 hours anyway, let alone with all this stuff going on around the world. So no, nice to have a familiar sight, see your face, mate, and do what we do best.
Likewise, man, likewise. It's a relief more than anything, I think, just to be getting this episode out. But yeah, with everything that's going on, I'd kind of forgotten for that for a second when I was just ranting to you off air about all of the issues I'm having at the moment. I was stood in fucking sewage water last night waiting for Don Broco, only for them to get cancelled, as should happen. Because to be honest, everybody there was like, "Oh, do you know what? We'll firm it. We've already stood in this water." There was a leak basically, and we were stood in about an inch of this toilet water essentially. And everyone was like, "Do you know what? Just play." Obviously, they can't. And then my car didn't start, and I'm stuck in Digbeth, and that's the last place I want to be. And then obviously, we're on the verge of World War III. So yeah, I hope you guys are staying safe. If we've got any Ukrainian listeners, let us know. Our thoughts and prayers going out to you guys. But we're here to hopefully lighten the moods, which again is going to be pretty difficult given.
Well, I was going to say
the state Villa are in. Yeah, no, we're actually about to depress you again for the next 15 minutes by talking to you about Aston Villa and previewing our game against Brighton. Dan, the Amex, it holds many a happy memory for me, Dan. Our road trip a few years ago,
yes.
Me, you and Elle was Manny to Brighton on a Tuesday night. What were we thinking?
It's really weird when I look back at that game, because I remember getting the message off you like, "Hey, mate, I think it was, we either sorted it either on the day or the day before," and you messaged me like, "Hey, mate, got a couple of tickets coming my way for Brighton tomorrow." And I look at it now and I'm like, I would reply to that message, especially being in Manchester, like, "Dan, what are you like? Are you crazy?" But I remember just being at the time like, yes, absolutely, unequivocally, yes. It was 6 hours down there. And then we started in Birmingham, but yeah, mate, yeah, it was.
And we missed kickoff.
Yes, we did. But just the fact I think we got there to see the game at all, considering the journey we had to do, is remarkable.
Really is.
But no, mate, you're absolutely right. Fond memories indeed, and I think that's, in terms of fond memories with Villa going to Brighton. That's few and far between, isn't it? Really, last time we went away there, that was in the league. We didn't win there in the Championship, did we? So, we're going back to the last time we beat Brighton away. You're looking at the 80s, I think. 1981. 1981, the last time we beat Brighton away from home in the league. So let's put a stop to that.
Mate, do you know what? They're coming off a bit of a bad run. They've just got done 3-0 by Burnley, who nobody should be losing 3-0 to. Nobody. I love Wout Weghorst. I think he's brilliant.
He is the best player in the world. He is the best player in the world.
He's phenomenal. But a lot of you guys would have probably watched Match of the Day. You'd have seen that, and I think the important thing to note from that game is the absences of Adam Webdini, as I like to call him whenever he plays us, because he morphs into prime Maldini like it's mad. And of course Lewis Dunk, both of which are back, but they played with a back two last time of Shane Duffy and Joel Veltman. And I know we've spoke a lot about sort of Swiss Army knife players. Joel Veltman is certainly one of them, Dan. Signed for like $750,000, bit of revelation. He's not a centre back.
What a player.
And had a really tough time, but they've been playing this sort of 4-4-2 with the absences. Fully expect them to go back to the usual back three that we've kind of come to expect from Graham Potter and Brighton. And it's going to present a bit of a difficult task for Stevie and Villa, because correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Stevie's come up against a back three yet for Villa. So it'll be interesting. I don't really expect the system to deviate too much, given we've got this far with it still failing in parts, and there's been a reluctance to change it. So I can't see him making any drastic changes, but tactically I'm looking forward to seeing how this bout unfolds, because when Brighton have got wing backs like Cucurella and Lamptey, with the space that we leave in behind with our full backs, these guys are going to be feasting.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, it's not going to be an easy game. You can already see it now. I don't think this game is potentially going to do too much to lift the mood around Villa, because we have found it a notoriously hard place to go and play football. But Burnley fans thought the same. Before their trip to the Amex, they were feeling very much doom and gloom. They were feeling that nothing they were going to go their way, and that's a fair old trip, as we know, to the south coast from the Lancashire region. That gives me a bit of hope, I suppose. But no, I do expect us to make a bit of a meal of it, really. I think we did really in Stevie's first game in charge. Obviously, you sort of look back at that, and we obviously ended up winning 2-0, but that was a fair old slog, that game, and there was a lot of relief when Ollie put that ball in the back of the net. It wasn't easy up until that point. The noise picks up around Villa. Obviously, Tyrone goes and gets the second. But yeah, this won't be an easy game, mate. I don't think for a second that it will. They've got a lot of players that just seem to perform well against the Villa. Obviously, Neil Maupay is probably top of that list. He's into double digits now for goal contributions this season. He's having a decent campaign. 8 goals, 2 assists. Danny Welbeck as well, who was the scourge of Villa in lockdown. And as you said, Adam Webster always plays very well against us. They've got a good team. There's a lot of players that I think people generally admire about Watford. I think, you look at, obviously, that you've got the likes of Cucurella, I think, has won a lot of people over. Robert Sanchez is a decent goalkeeper. Tariq Lamptey as well is someone that people wax lyrical. And they have a certain midfielder who we've been pursuing for the most time, who thankfully didn't play very well at all against Burnley. Wasn't a good performance from him and Lallana in midfield too. So let's hope that Basuma's got one eyes on a Villa move in the summer. He's looking to get in Stevie's good books early doors and put in an absolute disaster class. No, mate. If form is anything to go by, which usually goes out the window when the Claret and Blue turn up, no doubt he'll have an absolute blinder, won't he?
Absolutely. And I mean, to be honest, Basuma, he didn't have a great time at AFCON. I think one thing that I found quite interesting, to go on a bit of a slight AFCON deviation, a lot of these players from the Premier League that you kind of expected would get a game or two, be the star man for their team, more often than not, in the group stages, found themselves on the bench. And I don't know whether that's just because of a thing where they arrived late or whatever, but Basuma didn't have a fantastic AFCON. He didn't play a lot, and he's come back and hasn't really looked the player he was before he left. Which is interesting now, especially with how public the pursuit of Basuma was. And it's very rare, if at all, you get a manager openly and quite candidly saying in a press conference, we were chasing this player, but the price wasn't right. I think, the only other manager we've heard have a transfer saga like that was Pep and Kane over the summer. It's almost unheard of, because you don't like to have egg on your face with these types of things. And I think Villa very much do have egg on their face when it comes to the Basuma race, and it's going to Villa are not only going to look completely stupid on the pitch if we lose this game, which is entirely possible, but also off the pitch, because I think the way that the mood is right now, Dan, and I think people are rightfully so questioning Christian Perslow, questioning some of the stuff that Langer's doing, and I'm neither here nor there just yet. I don't really, because we lose a few games, all of a sudden we have to find a scapegoat. But if we lose to Brighton and the midfield is dominated by a transfer target who we ultimately failed to sign in January, some serious questions do need to be asked of the board and the club, mate.
Yeah, mate, you're absolutely right. It does feel like we're sort of going round in circles a little bit. Obviously, we had a new manager bounce, but I think the most concerning thing for me at the moment is we look worse as a team than we did before we made some brilliant signings. And that's really concerning for me, is that Villa seemed a lot more cohesive before we had one of the best January windows on record at this football club. Which is a big cause for concern, really. I'm not saying that we're a worse team for having these players, obviously not, but we're nowhere near as cohesive a unit. And look, I get that, we're not just integrating bit part players into a squad, we're integrating major names, and that is always easier said than done. It's not like, it's necessarily easy to fit in someone like Coutinho halfway through a season when, it's been difficult. You've been trying to get away from having a main man on that left-hand side for so long, and then you bring in someone naturally who plays on that side who as I said, a lot of things will try and go through. So it's not easy, but yeah, you're right, mate. We do need to start making that work sooner rather than later. I think for Villa right now, it's just a matter of leveling out and finding some consistency. And let's hope that's just not consistently shit, because that's what we have been for the longest time. We just need to start finding our feet, because, as I said, mate, for the longest time, it has felt like Villa is just a roller coaster. It's up and down. It's, we go and beat them for 4, we lose 4 in a row. And you just want to sort it to plateau. And to be honest, I think people have given up on any kinds of lofty aspirations for this season. I think, any sort of clinging hope that we had when we picked up Coutinho and Digne in January and the like has sort of faded away slightly. But we know what this place is like, mate. We know how quickly the mood can change at Villa. We know how fickle this fan base is at time. I'm guilty of it as well. If we go and put in a blinder against Brighton, even if it doesn't have to be anything amazing, even if you go down there, you win 2-0, 3-1, something like that, comfortable 2-goal margin, it's all forgotten. It's all forgotten. And then we go into a tricky run of games looking a lot brighter. So, yeah, it's a difficult one to sort of predict, mate. I think Brighton's run of form does need to be taken with a pinch of salt, because, you sort of look at those last 6 games. They had a draw with Chelsea, a draw with Leicester, lost to Spurs, lost to Watford, lost to United, and lost to Burnley. Only 2 of those games were at home, and one of them was against Chelsea. All of them have been away apart from that. So I think that does need to be taken into account. So it's not going to be easy, mate, despite their form.
I think the worrying thing is coming into this game, Dan, is, we'd come off the back of a really impressive pair of performances against Manchester United, both in the Cup and the League, one of which obviously included the draw in the League. We then go and beat Everton. Again, weren't entirely convincing, but it's a good sign when you can win games and you're looking poor. And there was 4 games, and of the 4 games that are Leeds, Newcastle, Watford and Brighton, we have taken 1 point. We have taken 1 point from a possible 9 that was up for grabs. Of course, this Brighton game would extend to 12. To take 1 point, that's just completely and utterly shocking. And I think an issue that we perhaps alluded to but didn't really kind of flesh out as much at the time, with the Leeds game, we played Leeds, I think was it a Saturday? I think it was a Saturday, and then Leeds then played the Wednesday, and so did we, and we looked absolutely awful. Oh no, the Leeds game was midweek, sorry, and then we played Newcastle on the weekend, and we looked totally off it against Newcastle. And it's important to note that Leeds also did as well in the game.
I was going to say they were shit.
The midweek games are taking a lot out of teams, and I think it was a real sucker punch for us. Watford was, again, there were 30 minutes of good football from Villa in that game. It's a confidence thing at the moment. It's a confidence thing. And after this, we've got Southampton, and then got Leeds again midweek, which will be an interesting one. West Ham, Arsenal, Wolves, Tottenham. I don't see Villa winning a game until the 30th of April when we play Norwich at home. And even then, I think that's up in the air. And that's what's worrying, Dan, is when the confidence is as low as it is, you can lose away to a Brighton. You only have to go and look at last season. We got absolutely dominated there. And if it weren't for an Emi Martinez masterclass, we would have genuinely lost about 4-0 to them with no fans in the ground. How humiliating.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's one of those where I think, a win would go a long way. I think we desperately need these next 3 games you were saying against Brighton, Southampton and Leeds. We desperately need to get some points on the board because we do go into a tough run after that. But, let's not forget that Villa are the true Robin Hoods of the Premier League, mate, in that we steal from the rich and we give to the poor. We always do well against these top teams and then cast aside points to the lower half. It's been that way for a long, long time. We always do go and play well. Perhaps the points don't always come in those big games, but the performances often do. But you're right. I think I've seen a few Villa fans saying that we're getting sucked into a relegation fight and everything like that. And look, I don't think we're anywhere near that. I think we're far, far too good, and I don't think that is a problem. There are teams, down there. You look at the bottom 3 in Norwich, Watford, Burnley. I think Everton I still think Everton are in trouble. But we're not quite there yet. But it's easy to see that if this continues for another 3 or 4 games, it's easy to see how a Newcastle, who look a completely revived side, could leapfrog us. Brentford have got Eriksen to come in, so we don't know what that galvanising effect that could have. It's easy to see how it could become. We could quickly be looking over our shoulder, mate. So I think, come 3 o'clock on Saturday, it's important that we leave with 3 points for sure.
It is, mate. And, I think we're currently on 27 points. I'm not largely worried about relegation, as you say, mate. But I think 3 wins get you to 36 points, then you have absolutely nothing to worry about. And again, if them 3 wins can come in Villa's next 3 games, and that's absolutely fantastic. I think as well, what you've got to look at is, like Brentford, 24 points. They've played 26 games, which is the most when you look at like City, Liverpool, United. They're all on 26 games. Villa are only currently on 24. Everton, 22 points, 23 games, but it's looking fairly grim for them as well. In that, they've got an FA Cup game against Boreham Wood, then they play Tottenham, Wolves, Newcastle, Watford. So that's going to be tough for them. Leeds, 23 points. I think their game in hand is against us. I'm not largely worried, but Newcastle 24 games, 22 points. They win their 2 games in hand. Newcastle are above you. That's seriously worrying considering how poor they were before Eddie Howe came in. And I think it's fair. It would be rude of us not to acknowledge their sort of upturn in form. But no, it's not something I'm majorly worried about. I don't think Villa are certainly in danger of going down, but I feel like we don't want to end the season. If we end the season where we are in 13th, then the season's been. I guess it's a write-off in any case because the change in management, the change of players, and stuff like that. And I don't mean that in a dramatic sense. You had people like weeks ago being like, "Oh, let's end the season now." That's what I'm saying. But you want to finish as high as possible because when you're safe, then
is the priority. You have to make sure you can stay in this division. But Villa have far too much quality to languish in 13th. And, with about, 1.5 million, 2 million up for grabs for each position, you can finish higher, then we absolutely have to aim for a top 10 finish. That is something that has to happen. And to do so, we have to go and get 3 points again at Brighton, mate. We have to, because they're sat on 25 games, 33 points in 9th. Like, it's mad. I'm not. They're nowhere near the sort of race for European football whatsoever. But you only have to look up one place: Tottenham 39 points, Wolves 40, West Ham 42, Arsenal 45, Man United 46. So we have to be looking to finish around 8 or 9, mate, don't we? Like to quantify a successful season out of
Definitely
seemingly nothing, which is weird to say. And I don't want to wish the season away, because I feel like there's still so much good football to be watched. Whether that's from Villa or not, mate, I'm not quite sure.
Well, I've to wait and see, mate. This is the crazy game that we love playing, mate.
It really is. So, guys, let us know your predictions ahead of this game in the comments down below. Make sure you check out One Football as well. The link for that will be in the top of the description. And it really helps us out if you guys check that out. Let us know score predictions, as I say. Subscribe for more content and